Let's paint a portrait. I'll be painting Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. I've shared the process behind a lot of my portraits previously, and while some of them are based on film characters, they've all been based on imagery of real people. This time though, it's a bit different because Aloy is a character from a video game. She is the protagonist of Horizon Zero Dawn, which was released by Guerrilla Games in 2017. And for those of you who have been following me on social media for a while, probably know how much I love the game. There's been a lot of different portraits of Aloy through the years, so it's nice to finally be able to share the process here as well. The sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, was released in early 2022. However, this image was painted several months earlier. The reference I used is from the gameplay trailer, which gave us a brief preview of what the new game would be like, which was released in May 2021. And after seeing that new content, it made me really excited about the game and inspired me to paint Aloy again. I've used this colour palette in previous portraits as well, but it took me a little while to figure out how many of the colours in this colour palette I wanted to use. And for a little bit I was considering to only use the warmer colours, and while I'm certain a warm toned portrait would work really well, the addition of the blue colours add a lot more depth to the image. I know it can seem like this image takes shape really quickly. The time-lapse Procreate captured was over 10 minutes long, which I've sped up quite a bit for this video. However, the entire painting took me just under 6.5 hours across a few days. And of course, there are people who are able to paint portraits like this really quickly. Hell, I've painted portraits in less than an hour as well. But for me, how quick I am depends on a lot of factors. If I'm really familiar with a subject, I find it a lot easier to capture their likeness, because I can more easily spot mistakes and therefore also fix them more easily. Of course, a good reference image or a set of good reference images are paramount. They provide not just the basis of the image, but they show the tiny details which really help with capturing likeness. Blurry reference images, on the other hand, are usually avoided, as they don't hold enough information and makes it tricky to add details in the right place. However, they can be used for things like a pose or a silhouette, but they usually have to be backed up by other reference images. What I've been painting previously also plays a role in how quick I am. If it's been a little while since I've painted something like a portrait, I can feel a bit rusty and it'll take a little longer for me to get back into the flow of painting them. With all that said, the quality of the piece matter more to me than the amount of time I spend on it, especially for a personal piece like this one. Of course, it's a different story if I'm working towards a deadline, but even then I'm aiming for the highest quality I can provide in that time frame. Painting portraits and using references is very much about training your eye to see what's actually there and not just what you think is there. This can be even trickier the longer you spend on an image because you become a little bit blind. But there are ways to force yourself to see both your reference image and your work in a new light and help you find mistakes. In my digital work, I mirror both my canvas and my reference image and compare them that way. When working traditionally, I turn my reference and my work upside down, which helps me see them in a new light. Though it can also help to hold your traditional work up to a mirror, or even take a photo with your phone and mirror that image. Thank you so much for watching. More process videos are up on my YouTube channel, and for more of my work, check out my social media accounts.